Hey guys, we are at Philly in the hotel. Definitely just came off of a top 16 placement with Gamma. Been saying for a while. I know a lot of you guys have been messaging me or in the Discord asking for a Gamma list, and I've been kind of tight-lipped with it because I've got that Yu-Gi-Oh player mentality where I just don't want to put stuff out if I think it's going to give me an edge. Sorry, I'll try to get over that because people will figure out good cards eventually regardless. So unless I'm playing some spicy tech, I'll start being better about helping people out with deck lists. But yeah, I think my side deck is right here too. No, it's not. My side deck is somewhere. I'll figure it out at some point during this video. Yeah, I don't know where that went. Point being, of course, it was Gamma. I chose this leader 100% because I was really interested in the superhero movie because Gohan's the main character, and I just looked at the effect afterwards. But when I did look at the effect, I realized that his backside is incredibly powerful. Awakening with a 2-drop Unison is kind of a little sketch, like, because you're going to be dependent on seeing that Unison to awaken before your opponent wants you to. But at the same time, between being able to max out on one of the best Unisons that's ever been made for in the 2-drop slot, combined with the fact that you have an Oceanus-like card where you just discard it from your hand and look at the top 5, you have so much reach to find this Unison in your first 2 turns, unless you're playing one of your best friends on stream, and it just doesn't happen. But outside of that, you'll find your Unison very, very often, and you'll awaken consistently on turn 2 or turn 3 when you want to. So, yeah. On his backside, though, at the end of every turn, you're going to be able to scoop up 3 blue androids, put them to your hand, draw a card from your deck, and then put 3 blue androids back down, untapped unless they have energy exhaust. And that's what makes this deck really, really stupid. You're going to be able to constantly refresh those 3 energy, allowing you to play exactly on curve while making sure that you still have energy. The other important effects that he has on his backside is that when you use that effect, you cannot use non-android effects with cost 7 or lower in your deck. So that means you can't use things like God Sealing. You can't use things like Baby Golden Monkey on your opponent's turn. You can use Hatch because he's 8 cost, and there are probably some other blue effects you can use, but you can't use a lot of good generic blue cards that you would see on the defensive step. And it's for battle cards only. You can still use extra cards and whatnot. The other thing about this guy is every time you play from your energy, which you will be doing a fair amount in this deck, you take the top card of your deck and you flip it over. So that's going to allow you to refresh energy. And as long as your deck's built correctly, it should never be a problem with what energy you flip over. So yeah, that's that. So when it comes to the deck list, for my super combos, lots of people are running 4 Bionic Blitz. I run a 2-2 split because yes, you are untapping a lot of energy just with your leader, but there are times where that 3 energy kind of puts you in a weird bit of sequencing. If you try to use your topo against a deck that you know it may resolve, you're only left with 1 energy. Or if you use 2 Realm of the Gods, or Realm of the God and negate if you want to, depending on your deck list, you're going to be left with energy where you can't topo or you can't dirty burst if they try to extend past that. So I do like having a 2-2 split because not only is this searchable by your top 5 search that we're going to get to very next set of cards, but it's actually going to just elongate your defensive plays, and that's very, very important. Also, if you're running any Arrival, which there's a plethora of in this general archetype, this is going to pretty much refund costs, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you go into your turn, and sometimes you can set this up really well. If you know you're going to Arrival, or you suspect that you're going to Arrival, untap 3 energy and leave 1 energy that's dual color tapped. Because when you combo with this and set up for your Arrival, you're going to untap that dual color energy, and you're going to refund half the cost already just doing these things. It's really good for economy, and I do stand behind this 2-2 split. Bionic Blitz does the darn thing. It just discards, and it's really good. When you get to a simplified game state, like I generally is saying, these -1s always start stacking up. And so there are points where if you're pressing on somebody, you can make it much harder for them to combo against you. But there's other points where if they're trying to pressure you and they don't really have the best hand, you can make the choices a lot harder by making them bottom deck cards. So,
Question.
Yeah.
So, Bionic Blitz, unlike the 17 and 18 super combo, this one is not a Red Ribbon army. Does it ever come up in situations where you'll see her in your top 5 with like your searcher and you can't grab her and it frustrates you?
Very much so. That happens a lot, but it's just a part of this deck. Like, yes, she's not Red Ribbon Army. You don't get to search her from your top 5, but there are just a lot of times. You'll pick her up from your draws. Sometimes you'll flip the top card and it's her, and you'll just be like, look at your opponent, give them the thumbs up, and put it back in hand when you end your turn. But yeah, it does kind of suck sometimes that you can't search it out. But that is one of the reasons, another reasons why this is cool. I do like picking up super combos for free. Feels good. Next card, you got the Android 15 and 14 Searcher. This is like Oceanus if you guys are familiar with Sin, but you basically discard it. It's a limit one, you discard it and you search your top 5 for a Red Ribbon Army blue Android that costs 5 or less. This searches out so much of the deck. This searches out your super combos. Oh, actually, it also searches out the Unison. We'll get to that later, but it searches out your 2-drop Unison. It searches out your super combo. It searches out the Rebellious Will androids we'll get to. It searches out your dual color energy exhaust negate kind of thing. So this pretty much really ties your deck together, and it's what allows me to run a 52 card deck with only 4 2-drop Unisons, because between my leader swinging on his front side and drawing a card and this going in, that's searching 6 cards deep for my Unison if I don't have it already. The other cool thing is, since the Unison is going to recycle a just 5k 0-cost combo card, it really helps when you have this card in your hand opening up, because whether you're discarding it and finding your Unison, or you already have your Unison, you're just shoring up your hand, this is going to allow you to always have that set up to combo. It also searches out your Topo Floodgate, but we try to make sure that we don't rely on that, because most of the game can hate on that. Speaking of which, you got him. This guy is incredibly ignorant just because he's a searchable Topo that fits in with the deck, and you generally have access to him for most of the game. I mean, he's searchable by the Oceanus-like card we have. He can just be flipped over from your from your deck to your energy, and you can scoop him up at the end of turn. There's a lot of ways you can pick up this guy, and he's just annoying. You discard a card, but unlike the other ones, you discard and pay the energy on the cost, and then he comes into play and he negates. Well, he negates, he comes into play, and if he resolves, he's going to be able to floodgate your opponent. They'll have to bottom deck 2 cards from hand just to get a swing. But in exchange for having to play all that cost up front, unlike some of the other ones, he hits all cards. It's not just battle cards. If your opponent tries to swing with a Unison, a leader, or battle cards, he's going to force them to bottom deck 2. So you got to be careful though, because green has Dodoria, green has Focus Breakthrough, black has Super Kamehameha, blue has God Sealing. Oh, so yeah. Oh, well, yeah, Resolve Renewed. I was getting it. I was confused. I was like, what are you talking about? I was getting to that. But, yeah, every color has hate on this card. And so you have to really figure out which spaces you play it. I used to play it at 4, but when you play against the right people who understand how the meta is, this card rarely resolves when you want it to. Like, if you're playing against green and the cooler deck is built how it's supposed to, and you resolve a Topo, they weren't trying to kill you that turn. Because when you are trying to resolve it, chances are they have Dodoria. Same thing with red. If you don't get Resolve Renewed, yeah, sometimes they just don't have it, but chances are they didn't need to use it. So you got to be very careful about relying on this. This deck has a lot of weird kind of back and forth tempo. Like, you, just with the way the deck is built, with the untapping of the energy, the super combos that discard, the super combos that untap, there's a lot of moments where you can kind of play with how far your opponent thinks they can press you. And it is often not correct, unless you see the window, it is often not correct to lead with this as a negate, but to make somebody invest to the board and see that they can no longer tap for these cards, or would no longer be beneficial to tap for these cards, and then test with this, because then you lock them into a position where you can just sell their entire board afterwards. So there's things like that. You have the Rebellious Wills. These guys are super important. So basically you can tap a single blue, which will generally be themselves, because they can't tap themselves with this effect, to play them. If they play themselves, you're going to be able to, of course, on your awakened side of your leader, flip your energy to the energy, or flip the top of your deck to the energy zone, and then you're going to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, pick 1 blue android, put it into your energy in rest mode, and then you can choose 1 of your energy and put it at the bottom of the deck. These guys are why you never have to worry about what you flip, as long as you're playing right. When you're playing Gamma, you should always focus on having 1 of these. Like, if I open up my game and I have 1 of these in hand, I keep 1 of them in hand, simply because you always want to make sure you have at least 1 android, because when you flip a monkey, when you flip a hatch, when you flip anything you don't want to be in there, it's tapping 1 blue, playing this, flipping the next card of your deck, which is likely going to be an android, and then using its effect to choose 1 of your blue androids from the top 5, putting it into energy and rest mode, and then bottom decking 1 of the cards that you don't want in your energy, shuffle. They're worded incredibly well. But the other part that's cool This has critical, this has barrier. That's actually the main reason why they're split the way they're split. This is one of the safest cards you can play. You play him, Cooler's not going to destroy him by effect. U7's not going to neg him. He's not going to be tapped by most blue effects. So you get yourself into positions where you get yourself free swings. This one, like I said, I wanted to have 6 because this is one of the most important cards to have in your energy, but critical doesn't come up as often and she's just less safe to play. Now, the one thing you do want to not get caught lacking on is if these guys get counterplayed, you do not want to continue resolving the effect to play them. They have to be counter played in the first window. So you'll tap it, activate its effect, your opponent can go, I don't know, focus breakthrough, resolve renewed. This is your moment to say, yeah, we're going to chill on that and let it stay in your energy. Because what happens is if you do that and it gets played, or it goes to the bottom of the deck, or it gets like to the graveyard or anything instead, since it wasn't successfully played, you do not add another energy with your leader card, meaning you just neg 1 energy. So you need to be very careful on that. And don't let your opponent like just kind of put you in that position. Like if they counter, just be like, yeah, okay, it's staying. Next, you've got Let the Battle Begin. Very, very, very good card. Very, very good in this format. And when it comes to Let the Battle Begin, it hits far too many things. It hits the A17s. It hits the Golden Freezes in U7. Against blue, you're not going to really use it as much, but it does hit these if they try to, fix their energy with these. And these are limit 1s. So if they don't have both of them in the energy, you can Let the Battle Begins these to the bottom of the deck, and they just have to like kind of waste that play and not fix their energy. This also hits. It just hits a lot of things. In Cooler, it's not really that good. You just hit their 4-drops. I normally side these out, TBH. But yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff. In Trunks Jita, you can hit their evolve targets. And yes, they still get to keep the 1-drop, but you're not looking at Trunks on the field. In Sen Shenron, they have to send their ball to the grave to play the 4-drop. And you can just hit this. This has to also happen to counter window 1, so it's kind of blind. But you have to hit this, and they have to just sit there and go, okay, well, cool. I guess this guy just stays in deck. And that's a really, really good momentum shift. They can't tap down your leader, and they can't potentially go up to 9 off of that. And then the other thing that comes up really well on is the Cell matchup, because you can start putting the 1-drops down at the bottom of the deck. Or if you want to lock them out, since they limit 1 for the summoning conditions, or sometimes you can just hit the 4-drop blindly, and they'll just keep the 4-drop in the deck. Be careful though, but like all counterplays, if they have a target with deflect, they can just play that thing, and you just look like an idiot. So then there's these. These are really, 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 really good. These negate their energy exhaust when they're charged, and you have a blue android leader. Well, I guess I think it's Red Ribbon Army. But yeah, so these are going to be your main green-blue charge. The other thing, though, is for green-blue, they can be played. They have deflect, and their come into play effect is going to bounce something with a greater cost than your opponent has energy. So for the first 3-4 turns of the game, this is going to just be straight up unbiased removal. And then there are also 20k dual attacks. So against red and green, this is not a safe card to play because of its cost and its power level. Between 20 and 4, they're going to get smoked off the board. But against yellow, this is just generally pressure. You just play it and just keep it moving. I love the card a lot. It does a lot of good things. And yeah, dual color pressure is also cool. Another thing, it can play from your energy with that cost, but it can also play from your hand. So if you don't want to run the risk, like if you're on 3 energy and you want to play this card, but you don't want to run the risk of flipping a non-android into your energy and locking yourself out of your awakening term, because that is a cost. If you don't have the 3 androids in your energy, you cannot pick up anything. So if you don't want to run the risk of flipping non when you're on 3, you just play it from hand. Easy, done deal. Very, very good. Then you have Bad Omen. I used to like this card. I used to like the idea of putting somebody to 1 and then burning them. This card, trash. Maybe I'm wrong, but I sided this out almost every single game I played. I am taking it out of the deck, 100%. These. I was told by Mr. Zach Egner as well as Amani at one point that these guys were the absolute truth. So I put them in 2 nights ago, and I practiced with them that night, and I realized that they were right. These are the absolute truth. They can combo or be played with a rival to cause your opponent to discard a card. You never really use the other effect because we don't play 1-drop androids or blue androids. But he's also dual attack for 20, so that's pressure. He's got revenge. He's got blocker. This card is amazing. I mostly were using them for comboing, like hitting somebody with a Bionic Blitz and then playing this guy. They drop 2 cards. And on the defensive step, if they're already pressing you, that's wild. Plus, you're putting a blocker out. Really, really, really good. A couple times I left him on the field, but removal is very heavy in this format, and so it's kind of scary. Once again, his stats are perfect for green or red to demise the crap out of him. But it's really cool to put 2 more attacks in if they don't have a floodgate. But I'm understanding it, but this card is just really, really good. Next, Baby Hatch. I'm not explaining it. Some turns you just don't die. That's it. Don't get caught lacking. Green can counter you, and yellow can cooler you. And if you ever hatch into a Swift Retaliation cooler, that just feels really bad because you're probably going to die the next turn. Just don't do it. But yeah, this card, MVP of the deck, Ignorance Incarnate. When he comes to the board, he can be played for 4 energy, green, blue 2 from your energy. You can play him from your hand too, but if he played from your energy, he's going to gain double strike on top of his dual attack. He's going to bottom deck every non-barrier battle card your opponent has, and once per turn, if he swings and your opponent counters, you get to bottom deck a card from your hand. So he is not only a board wiper, he is the floodgate checker, because most of these floodgates require an additional cost. So you swing, they Violent Raise, they're dropping Violent Raise, they're dropping the card for the discard, and they're dropping your or they're dropping a card for this one. So -3s are really, really good, and a lot of these decks can't take it. If a cooler has to -3 for a dormant, it's a loss. If it's a heavy loss for them. If a U7 player has to -3 for a Violent Raise, that sucks. Even the mirror, -3 for that topo, sucks. So this guy is really, really good. And yeah, he's damage control. Like, you put him down in your energy and your opponent knows that, you know, they can only put so much pressure on the board until it gets clapped. I survived GT just because I resolved 2 of these in a row, and his board literally accordioned out like mad battle cards each turn because he had to try to press me. But Cell is literally that dude. 4 monkeys. If you are not running this, I don't think you are trying to build the same deck. The deck doesn't really draw that much, so you definitely need to have cards in your hand, and monkey just synergizes far too well. You're dropping monkey for hatch, you're dropping monkey for your little topo cards. He's really just getting in there, and you have the untap 3 effects, so you have just so many places to play this card. You can, on your turn 3, normally you're removing a monkey if you've seen it, and you can play an android or just like do really whatever. This is good. Also on your awakening turn, if you awaken on 3 energy and you have one on grave, you can play your unison for 2, awaken, and then still monkey for 2, and then untap 3 at the end of your turn. It's just very, very good, and you definitely need some way to build hand. Plus, with all the incremental hand destruction in the game right now, it just feels really good when your opponent's like Galactic Frieza and you're like Galactic Monkey, and then, you know, you just don't feel as bad for negging in hand. Unison is snapped. Auto, once per turn, when somebody attacks, the first time they attack, that's going to go up a marker, and you're going to combo with a 0 cost 5k blue android. Enough said. When he has 4 markers, you can, well, 5 markers, you can -4. This thing is going to gain 10k and dual attack. Nobody needs to be taught that unisons are fairly uninteractable, and this is just good. Against yellow, this is swinging under a post. Against most other decks, it's just swinging in their face. Nobody wants this card to stay at high markers, but it's also hard to destroy because essentially it's going to protect itself from at least 1 marker per turn. Sometimes, like, it's wild. This card is just wild. I could do a video on all the applications of this card. It's its own powerhouse, and you should pick yours up. If you don't have them yet, I don't know why. 2 Majin Buu. This was kind of a later inclusion. It was at 1, then it went to 2 because I expect to see a lot more U7 in my Swiss. He really just stops out cards like these big threats. You guys should know what this guy does. Put him down for 4. He is +1ing to draw, so he's another draw rock. He's going to untap himself and an energy on their opponent's main phase, a mono blue energy. And of course, he can -1 to just bounce something that's swinging. He also is a 20k double strike, threat. So there's a lot of good to him. And needless to say, if you already liked untapping 3, you're probably going to like untapping 4 more. It's just broken. Once this guy gets himself to the field, not only are you drawing 2 additional cards per turn between your leader affecting in the turn and this guy when you +1 him, but you're untapping 4, meaning that it's very hard to break through your defenses. You're seeing more of them, and you just have more energy to work with. This might go down to 1 because there were a couple of games where I sided him out. The only times I wanted to see him at 2 was when I was facing U7. Other than that, it was kind of weird. again, I was expecting to see a lot of U7, but there's a lot of good that comes with this. This is Dirty Burst. Dirty Burst is going to just stop your opponent from swinging with 7 or cost or higher if you play this for the 1 and then activate the other effect for 1. You draw a card, and then they can't attack with things that are 7 or higher. This is really great because against U7, they play Ultra Mastery, which doesn't come up much. They play a lot less than most people would think. Play this, you're not letting them swing to rip your hand. They play Vegeta. Play this. They're not swinging with it. They have to remove it for the neg one because it's not going to survive next turn in your deck. There's just no way between the dual color androids and Cell. You play this against Dragon Fist. They won't get to the point where they can lock you out of any response ever. You play this against Cells. They can't swing at you. There's so many cards that this actually just does insane amounts of work against. But at its least, it's also a hard negate. So in game 1, if you don't need to use this for cards like Cooler, for instance, Cooler will never really fall prey to a Dirty Burst. So against them, it's just a hard negate. And sometimes you need that, especially against big D Unison Cooler, or Unison Frieza. 2 Chilled Army Reinforcements is just the blocker negate. This is why I'm at 52 in this deck. Enough said, really strong. And then 4 Realm of the Gods. Yeah, it's just hard removal for a lot of things in the game. Against U7, you're blowing out their 17s when they get played on turn 2. You're burning out their freezes up until turn 4. You're burning out anything that really comes down as a little fatter. Against GT, they give you pretty much options to use this against every single turn. Yellow does a lot too. The only people that aren't giving these targets for are Cooler. And that's really fine because these are essentially giving you 1-drop targets on the defense, not the offense. Like every time I play Cooler, I want one of these cards because you will be able to bounce the 1-drop. Now, this only works against non-initiated Cooler players because when you have a person that knows what they're doing and understands how Gamma works and how it should be teched out, they're going to start swinging with the 1-drop as soon as possible to not give you the window to use this card. Because normally this is a block 2. You block an attack and you bounce the 1-drop that was going to go on you for 15k. Good players like Amani on stream will just swing with the Cooler and you'll be having these in hand, being mad that you can't 2 for 1. So it kind of be what it be. But on the defense, it's going to give you 10k and you're going to draw. It's another super combo essentially, and since you keep on tapping energy, you're going to have the energy to play it. On your turn, it's just going to be offensive, pressure, as well as removal. And the best part about it is that Gamma has a lot of good 2 energy plays, like your Topo, well, not your Topo, like on your turn, like your Monkeys and your Unison and things like that. And so there's awkward times where you're left with 1 energy. On turn 3, you're generally going to be left with 1 energy after making a play. On turn 5, you're generally going to be left with 1 energy after you make a play. So this is going to be where that is. Side deck, we're going to do this really, really fast because this video is already long and my side deck's like across the room and I'm stupid. So it be what it is. Very, very quickly, we've got, for hand control matchups, we got these. These are blue androids. They draw 2 when you play them. They cost 3. Perfect slot in. Turn 3, you can play this, draw 2. You're going to untap 3. Turn 5, there was a Cooler I was playing. Shout outs to Chad Duncan, where he was doing some hand control things. But my turn was literally play this guy, check to see if he has any battle card destruction, swing with it, swing with my board, remove 2, or tap 2, remove Monkey. That was a turn 5 and just drew like a total of 5 cards that turn. Plus my +1 on Majin Buu making a 6, plus my draw 1 at the end of the turn. It was a massive swing in cards against hand destruction. So then you can also flip this into your energy, get it back if you want to. Being a blue android really makes it fit. Next, 4th one of these. Couldn't find the space for the 4th one in my deck. Might change that. This came in a plethora of my games, so it probably just needs to be made. 2 Turning the Tide. Lots of games don't get this long. Gamma can actually punch you in the face like right before this would be live. And there's a lot of times where you'd be better off selling and using energy for other things than playing this. However, if you can't get the pressure on, like Yellow Trunks Vegeta can get to the point where you need to Turning the Tide if you can't pressure them out of their hand. But yeah, for obvious reasons, Turning the Tide is ignorant and he should be in here. He's also a blue android. Like, there's not really anything else to say. We got Koitsukai. I really want to side this in against U7 because the only thing that I'm really afraid of after Dirty Burst gets rid of threats or stops threats from swinging are them hitting me with the Videls and the counterplay Gokus. But I added these in the night before and I changed my deck up the night before. And generally, if you've seen my deck profiles, I'm kind of modular on sideboard cards. I like having cards to take in and take out and have those kind of specified in my mind. With the changes to the main and the changes to the side, I got to U7 and realized I had no space to take out cards for Koitsukai. So these just were dead bricks in my side, and it made me sad. Card snapped. This format has a lot of linear decks between Cell, between U7, between quite a lot of things. So this guy is actually really good for a lot of decks. You just, against Cell, you can stop up their chain. I'm not sure if I put this in U7. Maybe if I had more space, I could see. But even so, it's just, this card is really good. Even random decks, as long as you have good card knowledge, Mechagabor can potentially stop people in their tracks. So, very good side card, this format. There's no reason not to. 3 Sensu Beans, in case you were wondering where they were. In a lot of games where I don't need Dirty Burst, generally those games are Sensu Bean. If they're not putting things fat enough to Dirty Burst, they're generally hitting me low enough to the ground to where Sensu Bean starts shutting them out, or it changes my energy economy plus my leader's power in order for me to just sustain through the turn. And that is pretty much that. I went 7-2 in regionals. My only losses were to my homie Amani, and not only have we played that matchup so many times, we know how each other's playing style is, and so he smelled blood in the water when I didn't play how I normally played, and was obsessively digging, and he played well and aggressively and just burnt me out. So there's that. And then the only other loss I had was the mirror. I played against a homie from just Hermit style. I didn't draw any cells. He had his cells, and I was digging, so I died on his turn 7 because I couldn't clear his board. But besides that unfortunate loss to me, nothing against the player. It was just the way the decks went. I was like, man, I couldn't really fight back. I like this deck a lot, and I'm really happy with the 7-2 finish. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a little bit long in the tooth, but we had to explain certain cards since this is technically a newer deck. And yeah, I'll be doing more of an in-depth tournament report going over the matchups and how that went later this week. I just wanted to get this out as soon as possible. So yeah, thanks. And this was 9th place Gamma.